Okay. Okay. Well, you look pretty.
Thank you.
So I know I sent you a little information about what I'm doing here. This part of the initiative is called Weeds and Wilds, and so the wilds are basically that part of it is where you would fall under, and those are what they're wildflowers, basically people that grew from circumstances where you typically just wouldn't see a flower grow. And so I don't know a whole lot about like your story. I know some just from me encountering you and sharing space with you and things like that, and just kind of being in a community where you kind of hear a little bit about, certain things. And so that's the reason why I wanted to have a conversation with you because just from my perspective, when I first encountered you, we were in beauty school together, and I remember you being there, and you were going through something at the time. You were going through something, and I would see you sometime in class, just kind of sitting there, and you were there, but you weren't there. And honestly, like I could look at you sometimes, and I could see you just sitting there with tears in your eyes, still trying to like work and do what you needed to do. And then upon like getting to know you a little bit, I learned that you were like expecting at the time. I mean, it was obvious because you were expecting and then also
Yeah.
like working through some trauma. And I thought it was admirable, but it was also still pretty heavy and you're super young, right? And
Yeah.
so then after that, after we finished school, I stayed connected with you online and I saw you doing a few things. I saw you both doing lashes, selling plates, doing makeup, like all at the same time. And I
Yeah.
was even coming out there to you buying plates, and it was good.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, the food was really good. And again, you were young, so that I'm always impressed when like a young girl can cook like that. So and then and then from that point, what I observed is even though you were dealing with a lot of different things, and I hopefully get to have, get a little intel about that, you are now fast forwarding past that phase. You started an LLC, you're full out cater, you have a catering company, you got two
Yeah.
degrees, you were dealing with something, but since then you've had a new baby, and you're in a new place,
Yes.
right? And you relocated
Yes.
too. Okay, okay.
Yes, I
So
did.
let's go back to school. Can you share a little bit about what you were dealing with that was making it so difficult for you to be present and finish beauty school at the time, and just, give us a little background on how you started at that point.
So at that point, I was
If you're
about,
okay.
yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, at that point, I was
Okay.
bouncing around. I was about 19 years old or 18 or 19 when I started
Mhm.
beauty school. I was kind of in between running the streets and trying to go to school and get an education. I had moved to Arizona for like a year before I went to esthetician school, and I feel like the lack of support and motivation to just do everything on my own and going to work at 6 in the morning, then having to go to class right after that. Then I just was struggling a lot. So I ended up coming back home to Oakland. And when I came back home to Oakland, I'm like, I love doing makeup. I love doing stuff that has to do with skincare. So I might as well go to beauty school. And I was going to beauty school. And during that time, I did face some really difficult moments. There was a time when my daughter's dad, he passed away. So dealing with that and still trying to get through school. I didn't want to take the leave of absence. They did offer it, but I'm like, if I don't finish now, I'm not going to finish. Like, I'm a person that has to finish in that moment because if I have to keep coming back to it, it's going to basically kill my motivation to continue to
Yeah.
do it. So during that time, I'm like, yes, I'm going through a lot. Yes, I'm still pregnant, and I hadn't even had my daughter yet. I was around 5 or 6 months when I finally finished at Avalon, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really difficult. It was hard to get through it, but I had to
Mm-hmm.
push through it so I would finish because I know I needed to finish. So that's what my daughter, she really kept me motivated to continue to do that so I would be able to finish. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, working through that, I was like, okay, I don't want to go back to official school yet, but I want to
Yeah.
put my skills to use. I want to try to do something. So I did do facials and makeup and a little bit of waxing for a while. However, just on and off. I needed something more. Like I felt like it wasn't
Yeah.
enough to support my daughter. So I started to cook and I'm like, this is something I really have a passion for and that I really want to do. And it also kept me motivated because I was doing something all day. I feel like when
Yeah.
you're stagnant, you have time to sit and think about all the things that went wrong in your life, and feeling like that, it will tear you down. So cooking, it was something I
Yeah.
could get up off my feet every day. I had my daughter chasing me around the kitchen while I was doing it.
Mhm.
So it really motivated me to keep going. And then after that, once I moved back from Oakland again, I had moved to Chico for a while.
Okay.
And I stopped cooking as well because it was more difficult to gain clientele in Chico. And that's
Yeah.
what motivated me to go back to school. I'm like, okay, I gotta finally finish and get my degree so I
Yeah.
can show my daughter like school is important. It's important to move on with your life. It's important to do the things that are important so you could get where you want or you won't get
Yeah.
anything out of this life.
So are you a self-taught cook or how did that come up? Because you make a little bit of everything. I mean, you do soul food, you're doing sushi, you have these desserts. Like, are you self-taught or does that run in the family? How did you acquire all of those cooking skills?
I feel like it does run in the family. However, I didn't learn a lot of what I know from family. I learned mostly soul food from my mom. I would call her when I was in Arizona, and when she did have time, she'd be like, "Oh, you just get this and get that." And looking back on it, when I was doing that and I first started, I was probably like 17 or 18 years old, and it was really horrible.
Mhm.
I really
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
what I was doing. However, as time progressed, and then when I really started to get into it after I had my daughter, I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this. And I would get on YouTube and watch videos for hours, and I watch the step by steps and do it at the same time. So it's mostly self-taught. And then
okay.
as I did expand, I'm like, I don't want to just do soul food. Everybody that's of our culture does soul food. I want to know how to do everything else. So I would
Yeah,
get on
yeah,
TikTok and watch videos and figure out new recipes and get new ingredients, and just trying different things would help me learn more things in the kitchen. And I
nice.
just started my baking last year, so
Okay.
it's it's a journey.
Yeah, I saw you working on some sourdough bread. How's that going right now?
It's stressing me out real bad. It's stressing me out so bad. I just made a loaf this morning that did not come out cute or good. I was so
Uh-oh.
discouraged. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's my third one. I would say the first two I did, they were cute, but they were
Mhm.
dense. And then this one, it just was like, I'm not giving you nothing. So
Why do you
it's
want to learn
trial and
sourdough
error.
bread?
Because I want to learn how to make most ingredients from scratch. Like the path
Okay,
that I'm on, I want to get to a point where I know how to garden, I know how to grow my own things, I know how to make basically
nice.
anything and everything from scratch. So those projects
Hmm.
are fun to me, even though they drive me crazy. I find it
Yeah,
interesting to learn how to do new
to learn.
things. So I
Okay,
learned how to bread in the bread machine. So then I was like, okay, what's my next project? And that is
yeah,
currently my project that I'm working on.
nice. So you're trying to get into holistic living. Is that something that was a part of your upbringing, like
I would
gardening
say
and
no, it wasn't.
okay, you grew up in Oakland?
Yes.
Where did you go to
I grew
school
up in
there?
Oakland and I grew up in Fremont. So as a child, I went to school I can't remember my schools. I was born in Berkeley. I hopped
Mhm.
around in Oakland from the 30s,
Okay.
40s, and my great grandma, she had a house on 41st, and
Mhm.
sometimes I would go live with my dad over there, and then sometimes I would live with my mom. And when I lived with my mom, I would be at schools in Fremont. I think the school I went to in elementary was Bunker, and then middle school I went to Bancroft and Bret Hart, and then high
Uh-huh.
school I stayed at San Leandro High all 4 years.
Okay, okay, okay. Nice. So once you, because there's like a big gap that happened. What once you left beauty school, you were it was a house. Is that were you living at that house that I would where you were
Yes,
selling
I
the food
was.
at?
That was
Because I
the
know
house
you said
that
okay, okay, okay. So you were there, and then from there you move to Chico, like how far after that point did you move to Chico?
I would say I was pregnant in 2018, so
Uh-huh.
about 2021, I left Oakland, but after 2018, I lived on 88th in Hillside for
Okay.
like a year and a half. So after living there, that's when I moved to Chico, and that was around 2021. So around that
Okay.
time, I was in Oakland. I was cooking in Oakland, and I also was cooking in San Leandro because I started out cooking with somebody as business partners, and
Yeah.
then once we parted ways, I ended up just going solo, and I was doing everything on my own, and I cooked for a little while for probably like a year and a half at my dad's on 41st. And then after I left from there, I ended up moving into my own apartment and I continued
Okay.
to cook there. However,
Okay.
I was still in the same area and still feeling like I was being held back and I wasn't going to get
Yeah.
far with what I was doing. So I just needed a fresh start and to move out of the
What do
way.
you feel like what do you feel like were your biggest challenges while you were still in Oakland trying to make a living, provide for your baby and get ahead, like with you saying like, oh, you felt like you were still being held back. Like what do you feel like were the biggest obstacles for you there?
I feel like it was mainly distractions, getting caught up with living the way I'm used to living and living the way I needed to live
Yeah,
with having a child running the streets, like I said before,
yeah,
just wanting to be outside and keep up with everybody else and not wanting to miss out on certain things. So just basically wanted to continue holding on to my old life while I was trying to build my new life. That was my main struggle. Like I felt like I got to a stagnant point with cooking. Like after COVID, everything was more difficult because inflation, then people were losing their jobs and people weren't working as often. So it became more difficult to keep a steady income with cooking. I got to a point where I was, I still had people come in and I was making money, but basically I was just barely making over what I would spend on groceries. So it became less of a profit as
okay,
well as all the outside distractions. It just wasn't getting anywhere at that
yeah,
time. So I was like, I have to make a move and figure
okay,
out something while I have a young daughter. She
okay.
was around 2 years old, I believe, when we moved from Oakland to Chico.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, with your daughter, when you were expecting and you lost her father, obviously you were having a really hard time with that. Like, what did you have to support you in coming out of a space where you just felt like forget everything? Just because I've had like brief conversations here and there, and and collectively, in a beauty school environment, typically, there's a bunch of women there, and sometimes people go through things, and you have your group of people that's kind of there supporting, and so of course there's conversations that's happening, and so just with me being around and picking up certain things, just knowing that you were like in a place where you just was just like basically zombie mode, right? What helped you come out of that space and be able to be one open to loving again, living life again, smiling again, working again, trusting, being happy? Like, what were the things? And I'm asking this question because this is such an important part for other people that experience this. And that is, one of the key reasons why I wanted to speak with you, because I talk to a lot of people, I deal with a lot of people just, day to day with my job and just naturally. And you're probably like the seventh person that I know that has dealt with this circumstance, either while expecting, before finding out, or right after having the baby. And more often than not, the people don't they have a horrible time coming to, getting on their feet, being able to be confident enough to move forward. And I know, just with dealing with different traumas myself, some of them for me were like buried for ages, and I'm just now getting to a space where I'm like talking to therapists and going to counseling. I'm just doing different things to kind of unearth and pack certain things. And even for me, like with dealing with trauma surrounding like love, even, it's taken me almost a decade to feel comfortable with exposing myself to that type of thing again. So what was it for you to get you back to a place? And I know like your personality, like you're very confident already. You're very talented and smart and things like that. And so I know that that's like a natural part of you and clearly ambitious. You know, you were a go-getter for sure. So you have that natural thing to you, but of course it was dampened by what was going on. So what helped you get to this place?
I feel like being that low, I would say it was a very low point, and also during that time frame, I just stayed in the house. Like I would say the first year, I tried to go to counseling, and I feel
Mhm.
like they couldn't relate, or I just didn't have the correct counselor at the time that could help me get through what I was going through. I had a bunch of people
Mhm.
like doctors, they're like, oh, you could just take medicine for anxiety and depression and PTSD. Oh, I understand that you're really hurt, but I've never had any clients or been through anything like this for me to understand fully or give you the correct advice that you may be seeking. It was a lot of trial and error. So I feel like in those first moments, it was mainly just sitting there. I was just stagnant. Like I said before, I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in the house. Then after I had my daughter, I stayed in the house for another year. Like it probably
Mhm.
took me about a year before I even left out of the house again after that
Okay.
instance. Like if I wasn't going to the grocery store and coming right back, I was just at home with my baby. And then also I was only 19 or 20 years old. I was 20 when I had her, so it was just like I was just there like, oh, I have to make sure that she survives. I'm the only parent that she has. I have
Yeah.
to figure out how to get through this because if I don't, then my daughter's not going to have anybody. So it was more like I have to get up and do better for her, or I'm not gonna do anything at all. And
Okay.
sitting there and feeling like that after I just got up one day and I went outside and I was like, this is not how I want to live life anymore. I don't want to sit here sad. I don't want to sit here mad. I don't want to be stuck in the same position. I have to get up and do something or I won't do anything for the rest of my life. And it just, I didn't want to go like that.
Yeah. So what was the first step? Was it school or was it starting the business? What was the first step for you that you can recall?
I feel like the first step was just getting out of the house. I would start to go out more. I would go do things with my family or I'd go do things with my friends, just getting out
Mhm.
into the atmosphere. Like even my daughter's family, they had to be like, oh, we're here, we'll watch her, we'll do this, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, but being a new mom and been going through what I went through, I didn't even want
Yeah.
to let my baby spend the night out anywhere. Like if I did go out for a few hours, I didn't care how late it was. I would go always pick up my daughter because I'm like, I
Yeah.
gotta get home to my baby. I gotta have my baby
Yeah.
close to me. So I
Uh-huh.
feel like having her really it pulled me back because I've been through a lot of trauma previously, and I would say
Okay.
that I was always the only person or the only shoulder that I could lean on to get through those things. So
Mhm.
always feeling isolated and always being on my own, I felt like, okay, if it's me, it is what it is. But once it
Yeah.
became my daughter, it's like, okay, I'm not in this by myself. And I have somebody looking up to me, so I have to do better if I want her to have a better life than I had.
Yeah. With you saying that with past trauma and you had to rely on yourself, is that because of the way you cope with things? Because with you saying that you just basically took a break and it was almost 2 years of just you home and the baby. And I can relate to that because I'm the same way in my community. They don't usually know things are going on. Sometimes it's years later when they find out that I was dealing with something. Is that the reason why you felt like you only could rely on yourself, or were there other circumstances that just put you in position to where you didn't have proper support for the past trauma? And I'm asking because if you saying you had trauma prior to the baby and you were 19 at that time, that means it was happening in your youth. And so was there things that you just weren't opening up about, or did you just not have the support even with opening up?
I feel like it was a little bit of both because I feel like I got to a point where when I did go through traumatic things, I didn't really have anybody to talk to. So it forced me to be
Hmm.
isolated. However, I also feel like
Okay.
the support system that I should have had, they never asked me what was going on. It's
Yeah.
kind of usual in our culture for everybody to be like, oh, you're a young Black girl, you're fast, or you're walking around with an
Yeah.
attitude, or you
Yeah.
feeling this, or you feeling that, but nobody really asks you how you
Yeah.
are feeling, or what is wrong with you, or what's going on with you, or they don't really ask that.
That's true. That is true. Did you ever get support for that trauma, or what did you do with it?
I feel like everything hit at once. Also, after I had my daughter, I did suffer a
Mhm.
loss from my brother as well. So during that time,
Oh,
it's like I felt like I was just taking losses back to back to back, and then I was not over my past trauma. So when I did
yeah.
come out, I feel like everything was just piled up on me. Everything, the
Yeah.
weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to hold on to those things because that was a
Mhm.
lot of a part of why I kept running back to running the streets and being
Mhm.
outside and being in certain areas or certain situations that I had no
Yeah.
business being in. I felt like
Mhm.
that's what kept dragging me back to being in those situations along with the choices that I made. So it was
Yeah.
a lot of reflection and also not blaming anybody. I don't feel like I've ever really blamed someone or told someone this is your fault that my life is like this because at the end of the day, I also am a person, I'm realistic and I understand like when you make certain choices, you face certain consequences. And if you don't choose the correct path, then you will fall short and you will go through things that you wouldn't have to go through if you didn't make those choices.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, good for you. Congratulations. I know it's hard. It's still hard. Trauma is a lifelong thing, you know. So it's good for you for choosing to try and come out, and it seems like you're doing well. So, okay. So that was your step one, deciding to come out and be with family. And then you obviously acknowledged that your environment wasn't conducive to where you wanted to go. So you made a decision to move to Chico. Did you move by yourself? Did family go with you, or what was that like for you?
I had moved with my current boyfriend and
Oh, okay.
it was really difficult though. He was still working in the Bay Area, so it
Mhm.
was like all we had was each other. And then I had my young daughter with me.
Oh,
So a lot
wow.
of the beginning was it was back to isolation, I feel like, because also Chico doesn't have a lot of different colored people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just mainly one demographic. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'm back isolated.
Yeah.
What can I do to figure myself out and figure out what I want to do with my life. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'm sitting down. I'm in this area where I don't know a lot of people, but I'm also
Mhm.
in the area I feel safe. I don't feel like I have to always look over my shoulder. I don't feel like I'm going to walk out of the house one day and
Yeah.
anything. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go, anything can happen, but I feel
Uh-huh.
like it's less of a chance for those circumstances than it was
Yeah.
where I was at. So I'm
Yeah.
like, this is my time to figure out how I'm going to proceed with life. And I ended up signing up for school.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's really good for the nervous system for sure. And I know that because like for me growing up, like the people that raised me, they didn't drive for a very long time. So I was like confined to my neighborhood and I didn't know anything other because there was always kids everywhere. And even when I moved from one neighborhood to another, there were a bunch of kids there too, but still there wasn't a lot of leaving out. And so there was always when I moved from one neighborhood to the next, the new neighborhood was wild. And so every other night we were like on the floor because bullets were flying through. And sometimes you come home from school, it's a body out there under a sheet. It was a lot. And then I lost my father to gun violence at a young age too. So with seeing that all the time, and then when your father passed, you learn, oh, that's how it happened to him. And so for me, it was just always, I adapted, and I wasn't like afraid of it, but I didn't realize how much it affects your nervous system until I started like having friends and family invite me to other areas, and just kind of driving, and even just being in a car passing through like grass and stuff like that. I started to notice like what it how I was feeling. And so as soon as I got a car, I think I was probably 16, 17, and my aunt gave me a car. I would just drive, just go on San Pablo and just drive in different areas. And I still do that to this day. And it really like affects like your nervous system when you're out of the environment and not having that type of worry. I mean, of course, it's concerning being around certain demographics, but they're not doing the things that our demographic is going to do. So you don't I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Did you find yourself like mentally like feeling better being in that environment, or was it just like less worry of like what's happening over your shoulder?
Feel like I did find some peace with being out the way to where
Uh-huh.
when I did have to come back or I had things to do, I would notice like the same things you said. As soon as I would get to Oakland or get around the Bay Area, I'd be like, oh my goodness, I want to go home. I want to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
back home. It was just a feeling of
Hmm.
this is home, but it's not home. Like
Right.
it didn't feel in my heart like home as far as going back to visit and stuff. I do it
Yeah.
as less as possible because
Mhm.
it does mess with my nervous system. Like even going outside, my auntie had a birthday last month and we ended up going somewhere downtown. And I was
Mm.
just like, oh my goodness, it's all these people around. Anything can go
Yeah.
down. It's just
Yeah.
it's different. It's very
It is.
different.
Mm-hmm. So what were you studying? Because you have 2 degrees now. What were you studying in school?
Business. So I wanted to
Okay.
learn how to, I've always wanted to do business. And my biggest thing when I did graduate high school was math. So when I
Mm-hmm.
did go to community college in Arizona, they were telling me if you want to do business, you're gonna have to pass a bunch of these math classes. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it. So once I was really sitting down and I was in Chico, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do communications. That was my first go to because the math again, I'm like, I'll just try to find business classes and work away around it and just get a communications degree. But then it got to a point, I just woke up one day and I'm like, why am I doing this? And this is not what I want to do. If I want to get to where I want to go, I'm going to have to figure it out and make
Yeah.
it work. And I ended up switching my interest to business
Okay.
administration, and I did have difficulties with those calculus classes. I was at tutoring every day. I was watching YouTube videos. I was
Wow.
doing everything I could so I could be able to pass those classes, and I did pass those classes without having to take them more than once, which was a blessing
Wow.
because
Even
I really
calculus?
struggled. Yes, even
Gone, girl.
I had
Gone,
statistics,
girl.
calculus. I was like, I don't know nothing about this. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Listen, listen,
But
girl.
I ended up fighting
Mm.
through and I got those C's, get degrees sometimes. I did get good grades in my other classes, but I will not lie. I got those C's in the math classes and I did not mind.
Okay, okay. Listen, as long as you got through it, I can't even speak to that because me and math just don't have nothing in common at all. Like I
Yeah,
just can't.
so
I remember checking out of math in third grade. Like once they started introducing me to timetables, I feel like once we got past the sevens, I just couldn't. And literally, everything else is fine, but math, I just can't. I have to, to get as far as to finish and get through. But literally, right now, I'm probably on maybe like a fourth semester technically, and math, they gon' all happen at one time. I just can't. So I get that. I do get that.
it ends up like that sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So you majored in business, and what is the minor? Is it communications?
No, I ended up getting behavioral and social sciences. That was my second degree.
Okay.
And so when I got both of those at Chico, I transferred and currently I'm going to get my bachelor's for uh entrepreneurship, and I also want to see if I can do marketing as well, because as I
Okay.
said, I like to do a bunch of different stuff and I want to be able
Mhm.
to actually know the ins and outs of how to run a business. Like I've run into people that run law firms or they work in big corporations and they're like, it's the hardest thing to do to have a degree in your profession but not know how to run your own business. And I wish I
Yeah.
would have went to business school to learn how to run the business
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
well as the degree that I got so I can understand everything, because it's like learning a new craft all over again.
Yeah, and that'll save you too because you'll likely end up hiring people to do a lot of the stuff that you're learning, but with you knowing about it, they can't run too many circles over your head. And that
Yeah.
saves you because you have to, you hire people and they just come in and they tell you, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. They end up getting a bunch of money out of you that they didn't need to get. So that it definitely gives you a leg up. That's great. That's really great. So with the sociology degree, what are you planning to do with it?
It's behavioral science. I'm not sure. I feel like that was just something I also was interested in, and I took a psychology class and I was learning something I always remember, that one of
Mhm.
my teachers said the most difficult thing to do is love another person, because you have to love them no matter what they come with. And
Mhm.
that really interests me about how people think and the way the world is. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I ended up there.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. So, with the catering business, tell us a little bit like about like your menu. I know you cook a little bit of everything, but do you have a particular specialty or can somebody come to you with anything and you could do it? Somebody can come and say, I want an Italian buffet for 100 people, or I want a sushi buffet for 200. Can you just do whatever, or do you have certain like lanes that you like to stay in?
I feel like I'm very versatile, and that's
Mhm.
what I want to aim as a bit as a business owner and as a caterer. I have in my bio on my page, versatility is my specialty. So I would love if somebody came and said, cook me this random order and I'll do it.
Okay.
So I do get a lot of my clients are friends or family, so they do mainly go with like the regulars of soul food. However, that's why I also promote that I do other cooking. So if the time does come and when it does come, they'll know that I am capable of doing what they
Okay.
request. But usually I allow people to make their own menus when they order
Okay.
catering orders, or I give them a range of what I do the best, and then I
Mhm.
let them pick their own options.
Okay. And then you do like tasting menus or testings and stuff like that too?
I am open to it. However, since I am just jumping back into doing caterings, I haven't got to that point yet. However, I'm aiming to get there this year.
Okay. Okay. And then like what and the reason why I'm asking this is because I've been seeing like a lot of these chefs like on social media and they do these things where you can hire them to kind of do like a galentine's event or just like a girls night or football night and they travel to you and they set up like a really nice spread and so I'm wondering like is that something you do and if so like what areas do you serve to come and pop up and do like an intimate like situation like that?
I do those. So I would say I had one in December and one as soon as the year started. So in December, my sister had a birthday and she wanted to do like a tea party theme. And I came to her. I went to San Leandro and I ended up setting up her table. And I'm currently learning how to also do like balloon garlands so I can expand my
Nice.
services and make the experience more professional and make it feel more intimate, as you said. So I set that up. I did the tea party set up on the table with the little teacups and all the cute things for tea parties. And then she
Okay.
requested like a salmon dinner with yellow rice and shrimp and asparagus. So that was really cool. And then as soon as the year started, I had a catering in Stockton and I actually went there to cook as well. I set up there. She was doing like a brunch for dinner theme, and her colors were red and black and cheetah print. And I got to set up everything. I did like a mimosa stand, and I
Oh,
did
nice.
grits and all the brunch things along with fish and stuff. So she kind of made her own menu, and I just came to cook and set up, and that was really cool to
Mhm.
be a part of. And she actually had somebody
Yeah.
there setting up the balloon garland, so I got to see a little bit of that and how that would look. So I could in the future offer those services as well.
Okay, okay. Is your availability open with you being in school, or do you just have like a really tight schedule right now with that?
I feel like I can work around my availability because I try to keep my school hours during the time that my kids are in school. So I'm not too
Okay.
much worried about running around or figuring out babysitters and all that stuff
Mhm.
while they're in school. I plan to be in school, so kind of after that, I'm really open. I did have a small catering as well last week, and that was for Oakland, and I came out to drop that off, and it was a crab boil. So I'm open to small, intimate gatherings, private
Mhm.
trays, basically anything that has to do with cooking. I'm there.
Okay, okay, okay. So, I want to talk about a little bit about you being able to go and open up and love again, and you've had a new baby. How was that process for you? Like, was it something that you were able to just go into and just freely be okay? Is this a person that knows, the life that you were in before you got to this space, or what was that process like for you?
I feel like it was super difficult. It
Mm-hmm.
was really hard, but being that we started out as friends, it kind of gave me an open space to talk about those things, and that also helped
Okay.
me get through those things. And then it comes to a point where it's like you may not see things that another person is looking inside and
Yeah.
seeing from their perspective how you act or how you move or the things that you do. You don't really realize that until they point those things out. So during this
Mhm.
time I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm getting over it or I'm getting through it and I'm doing this and then I'm being told you're not. So I was really defensive in the beginning because I'm like, you can't tell me how I feel. However,
Yeah.
when you're somebody that's on the outside looking in, it's a different perspective and you see things that the person that thinks that it's normal or thinks that it's just,
Mhm.
oh, this is just how things are, is not normal. So that also pushed me to have to actually not just go over or go around the things that I was
Mhm.
going through, but to actually look at what I was going through and see that I had to actually move through them and move through my
Mhm.
feelings and be able to let go of the past or I would not have a future.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. And being friends with this person helped you because it was like they're able to go through that with you and then at the end of it be your person. And you
Yeah.
guys have a son, your 2-year-old son,
Yes, we
right?
do.
All right. Well, good for you. Good for you. That's one of the hardest parts too with people. And no matter like how the situation ended, it's just like, and I don't know, I hate to see it, especially when they're really young and they just can't like let go and I don't, you don't even have to let go. It's like you can hold on to your memories without like letting them hurt you and hold you down
Yeah.
forever. So that's commendable. And that's something too that I saw that I was just, from a distance, happy for you about, happy to see it, even bringing another life in. That's a wonderful thing. And your daughter gets to have a sibling, and all of that is wonderful and it's courageous. So, again, kudos to you for that, for being courageous enough to do it because it takes a lot. Because, when you're in a relationship, you are basically taking on another person too. So you also responsible for yourself, but then you're partially responsible for your role, with them, which is pretty deep. So that's a lot there. So yeah, I commend you. What do you feel like would support you the most to get to your next level or, in any capacity?
I feel like at this moment, I've come to a place with, like I said before, I didn't feel like I had a lot of support
Mhm.
because all the things that I grew up with were really hard. So
Yeah.
now that I'm an adult and I can reconcile with certain family members and
Nice.
we have a better understanding and I feel like I have a better support system with family as well
Mhm.
as just wanting to do better for myself. Like when I was young, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So I don't want to be like certain people that I watched grow up. However,
Mhm.
when I became an adult, I was more understanding of how it's easy to fall in certain ways
Yeah.
and how important it is to, yes, it's important to not want to be like certain situations or certain people. However, it's
Mhm.
also important to understand that just like you were dealt the certain cards that had you live a certain life, they were also dealt certain cards that made them live a
Yeah.
certain life, and that might not have given them
Yeah.
enough motivation or power for them to want to do better or
Mhm.
be better
Mhm.
at that time. But we're always growing, we're always learning from our mistakes. So understanding that nobody is perfect and needing that everybody needs that support from certain
Yeah.
people and now
Yeah.
having more support now than I feel like I did as a younger child. I feel like that's kind of helping me even more get to where I want to
Okay.
go. And then also
Okay.
I know I'm not fully where I want to be because like I said, all the moving around and all the jumping around has made it really difficult for my
Mhm.
catering. So I feel
Mhm.
like that's my main struggle is consistency in where I'm at and
Okay.
also promotion of what I do and just always letting people know that I'm open to do new business and stuff like that. So I feel like me expanding and learning how to network better and learning my craft better will help me in the coming years of being a better caterer and a better person as well.
Is your housing secure now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay. Um, Thank you for sharing that. Something that you said stood out to me a little bit about with you being able to reconcile with people, family members, and move forward. With you doing that, is that something that you were able to do just from a conscious effort of your own deciding to, or did you need any contribution from them? Did you need them to own up to things? Did you need them to apologize? Did you need for them to explain, or did you just take the information that you just shared with understanding? And you know what, I'm kind of asking this a little bit for myself, but it also is going to, just be out there too, because I'm growing in that same way with holding on to a lot of trauma, like from my childhood, and especially, with having people that don't feel like it was trauma or you dealt with trauma because and I'm being careful because I'm also in the space of not telling other people's story, but still being able
Yes.
to like tell a little of my own. But maybe a person feels like, well, you didn't go through X, Y, and Z because you were taken care of here. But the person that was taking care of me was doing it because you weren't, or something like that. And so I can now look back and say, even with my parents, they were both 16 when they had me. And
Yeah.
then just looking at their journey of like what their life was like, about just looking at their journey, and it helps me to say, well, they were young. This is what was going on. Things should have been different, but I can't put myself in their shoes. I can have a better understanding of how things ended up the way they did, and it helps me to forgive, and it helps me to have a different capacity for even a connection or relationship with certain people. I mean, my father is gone, so there's nothing I can do about that, but it just still I just feel like for me, I would need to have conversations, and I would need acknowledgement for people. And but then there's a part of me that wonders, like, is that like something I should be doing? Is that like pride making me feel like I need them to acknowledge their end of the stick? Or do I just and for everyone, do you just move into just, okay, I've decided this is my perspective now. I can embrace them where they are and move forward? Or did you need to have a Iyanla moment with these people and just like lay it all out there?
I feel like in my heart, I wanted apologies, genuine
Mm-hmm.
apologies. I feel like I wanted people to talk about what needed to be talked about. And as you said, I've been trying to refrain from putting other people's
Yeah.
business out there. So I have held a little back on as far as what I was saying because I didn't want to basically put people on blast. But I will say one of my biggest supporters is my sister, and I would say she's a big advocate and basically the glue that holds my family together because I feel
Okay.
like even though I did not get those certain things that I wanted, and I did get
Mm-hmm.
some apologies without really fully going into the trauma of everything, my sister
Mm-hmm.
was always able to pull everyone back together, and she's always able to allow me to vent and say how I feel and understand how I feel, but also pulling me back to where it's like, yes, you may feel like this, but at the end of the day, when you're family with somebody, you forgive them. And I feel like that's kind of a pro and a con because I got to a point in life where I basically wasn't talking to anybody. I'm like, besides my sister, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like talking. I don't feel like reconciling because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, people are allowed to overlook the things that they've done or the things that they lacked in or ignore the things that has happened without confronting them and then just keep getting to being forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's something that should be okay, is because somebody is family, you're obligated to always
Right.
forgive the things that are done to you.
Right.
However, her being who she is, she's good at she's good at getting me to come around. Like even if she
Okay.
doesn't, okay, I'm not gonna make you talk to this person or I'm not gonna make you talk to this family member, but okay, I'll
Yeah.
have you around them and you'll
Yeah.
eventually warm up because she understands I'm also not a hateful person and I'm not a
Mhm.
resentful person. So it's really difficult, even if I'm upset, to continuously be around and not eventually be okay. So I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like
I have a
mainly her
sister.
support is what does it for me.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I that makes me think about I have a sister like that and she thinks that way as well. And I don't know what's going on with her right now, but I feel like your sister is probably who I feel like that was the relationship between me and my how old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay, so she's a couple of years older than you, but yeah, I definitely understand that perspective for sure. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, just considering everything that you have been through, the places that you are going, the places that you've been, the things that you've done, just your life as a collective. If you were given like a moment to give a young girl like you that is come let's look at yourself when before you moved to Chico. If you could look at a young girl that was going into that direction and deciding, what are five things that you would tell her, just even thinking back to childhood when things were going on and you probably needed some help, thinking back to being in a relationship and just everything, like what are five strong pieces of advice that you would give to someone to just take to the bank to kind of pivot their life, save their life, or even preserve it?
I would say five things are: one, trusting in your first mind and yourself and the ability to make the right choices so you
Mm-hmm.
don't end up in certain predicaments or certain situations that you would not have to be. Two would be everybody needs help and it's okay to look for support. And even if you're independent or you feel like you're able to cope by yourself or you can do this by yourself, nothing is ever by yourself. It's always somebody that's going through something that you may have gone through. It's always somebody that's willing to listen. Even if you don't feel like they will, just give it a try and reach out for support
Mm-hmm.
anywhere you can. Like that is a big, you always need support from somewhere or somebody to be able to continue. Nobody can do everything on their own.
Yeah.
Then I would say looking at the pros and cons of what you've come from and looking at actually who you want to be in life, like as a person, through your career, who do you want to be? We only get one life as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make the best of it. And if you don't want to spend the rest of your life dwelling on all the mistakes that you made, you have to figure out ways to move forward and
Mhm.
actually live life so you can enjoy it to the fullest and reap all the benefits of all the good things without always dwelling on all the bad things that have happened. And then four, I would say is I lost my train of thought. Believe, but I would say four is believing in yourself. If I haven't already said that, I don't remember, but
No.
believing in yourself
Well,
is
you said
very
you said
important.
trust your gut, but that's a little different.
Yeah, believing in your abilities to do the things that you want to do. If you lack the motivation or the belief that you can do something, most likely you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to believe that you can get to where you want to get to and canceling out all those other negative voices or negative things that are coming at you or people that are telling you, oh, you might want to think about doing this or you shouldn't do that. Never listen to somebody that's telling you what you can't do. Only listen to the people that tell you that you can do it. Because if you believe and you put the effort in, you'll be able to get there.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then lastly, I would say when all else fails, keeping God close. I would feel like during all the trials and tribulations, I definitely lost a lot of faith. And I'm not a religious person. However, I do believe in God and
Mhm.
rebuilding my relationship with God and also understanding that even if you feel like there's nobody on this earth that you can talk to, believing that there is somebody that created you and there is a God that will listen to you and hold you when you feel the worst in the world will really get you a long way because even if you're just talking out loud or talking to anybody or whoever you think will listen, you might get an answer.
Okay, okay. That's wonderful. I love that. I love that. Okay. And so I saw a website where people can like contact you for like your services. Is that I forgot what it was called, but is that like an active thing if people want to reach out to you to contact you for catering and um what is the website called?
I mainly operate from my Instagram and also I have my email I
Okay.
posted. So mainly Instagram is where I operate from.
Okay.
And
There's a website out there. I'll send you to you later because I wrote it. I wrote it. I think that notebook is at home where I wrote it down. But there's a website with you and your some of your food on there, and it's like email sign up here to contact her to book an event or whatever. So that's there. But your Instagram. So what I'll do is just have it linked here below so people can contact you. Are you do it so makeup and stuff? Is that something that you're taking clients for, or is it just like solely just the food right now?
I feel like I'm still open to doing it. However, as I came into my passion for cooking, I did lose a lot of passion for doing
Okay.
makeup and stuff. However, I still do it. And when I have certain people request it, I will come out and do it. Like last year, I had a makeup request and I was like, still people still
Yeah,
know I do
yeah, like
makeup, so I was like, okay. And I went out and I did it. It was really fun. I like to do it. It's just not something that I feel like I want to do on an everyday basis or
okay.
on, oh, I want to just take a bunch of clients today. I'd
Yeah.
rather do it like freelance every now and again. Mainly my main goal is to do catering. So I
Okay.
wanna move to private catering and hopefully
Nice.
becoming the best chef that I can be. So that's really my
Yeah.
passion. But I do still do makeup and it's a little lashes.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay, okay. Well, good to know. Good to know. And so, yeah, you know what? Really quickly though, that is one of the things that also inspired me too with starting off before I opened the shop. I saw you online and I saw you online doing lashes. And what I saw, what the way you were doing them is what inspired me to say, girl, just get out there, right? And I actually started in my kitchen. But for me, I didn't I would show some of it, but I would show certain angles just because I was so like, I don't want people to see that this is in the middle of my kitchen and I'm just
Yeah.
hiding like the crusty parts and all that kind of stuff. But you were doing somebody's lashes on a couch. And I was watching, and I looked and like, and I was like, what the heck? And I even went and was like, how is that working out? Because you have to be able to get around. But you were doing the person's and that was some years ago, but that stayed in my mind. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, okay. And I just got on Amazon, ordered me a table, set up, just was doing it. And I had people coming in there. I was doing, girl, listen, okay. And so, yes, people be watching and they may not be saying nothing, but I really love when people are able to be vulnerable and just share. And then for you, you're just confident. You probably weren't even thinking like, I'm being vulnerable. You were just being you. But who you are is like who is, even at like your lowest, is probably who somebody else is aspiring to be, because I'm not a person that have that kind of confidence to just be like, let me just show. And it's probably due to trauma of people judging and hearing things. So I'm like, no, they only gonna see the good angle. They not gonna know I'm in the kitchen. They ain't gonna know what his kitchen at. But that inspired me, girl. Yeah. So yeah, kudos to you again, girl. That
Thank
confidence.
you. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, they are so focused on the perfect image on social
Yeah.
media, and it has to, and I feel like that's how some people do go viral off of that. I haven't went viral yet. However, I am a person, I base things on, like I said, I'm realistic. Like, I'm not gonna hide that I'm doing this on the
Mm-hmm,
couch, or I'm doing this over here in the hood, and then I'm
mm-hmm.
promoting my services, and then you come and you like, girl, I expected something. No, you're gonna
You
get
gonna be
what
on
you
the couch.
see. You gonna get what you see that is over here. I was going to people's houses, doing them on their couches. I
Wow.
was doing it
Wow.
on my mama couch.
You gotta do what you gotta
I was
do.
like, I would do it if the people standing up, sitting down. Like, I'm going to be real about my situation,
Yeah.
things that I go through. I don't want to hide who I am, because then nobody can have the opportunity to say that I'm
Yeah.
somebody that I'm
Yeah.
not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
really how I went about doing that.
Yeah, bro. Listen, as you see, I remember I was like, okay, all right. And I really hoped that this platform grows, and I hope when we get a few seasons in, we can check back in and see you thriving, see your company going, and just see you, doing major things, the babies, growing. Do you want more children, or are we done at two?
Kids is a lot. I did at
Okay,
first. I'm
okay.
not gonna lie,
Pending.
but kids
Pending.
is a lot. It's a lot
They
right
are.
now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll
I'm
see
not
you
gonna
and your
lie, I
family.
love it.
But
Thank
listen,
you.
I know I have two, and that was enough. Okay,
Look,
so we'll see you and your family and your business and everything.
thank you
I
so
have to
much
finish
for
mine.
having me. I really appreciate the invite and the opportunity. You were so great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. All right, LaLa, are you still LaLa, or are you full out of Alondrea now? Is it
I'm still LaLa.
okay? All right. Well, all right, LaLa.
I'm not all the way there yet.
You know, baby
Maybe in a
steps.
couple of years. Maybe in a couple of
Okay, okay. All
Thank
right. Well,
you.
take care, and I'll be checking in with you too. Okay.
You as well.
All
Okay.
right. Bye.
Bye.